Within the Topaz Workbench, you can run Topaz for Total Test to create a unit test and store everything about that unit test within your Project Explorer. So the way that we start that is through the use of Expediter. So I'll open up my Expediter perspective. And if you're not familiar with how to create an Expediter debug session, notice the cheat sheets will open and will give us very detailed directions about how to set something up. So I've already got some set up. It will come up here and go to debug configurations. You'll notice ones that I've already created are there on the list. I could just click on one of those or go to debug configurations and they will be listed there as well. So when it brings up the list, we can either create a new debug configuration or select the one. Here we go. So I'm going to use this one that I've already created. Notice there's my host information, which LPAR this is on, my job to debug, the step that we're going to start with, and some other things too. I've got my visualization turned on, so I'll create a runtime visualizer during this debug process. If I wanted to collect code coverage statistics or set my breakpoints here, there's my load lives and my DDIO information. So we'll click debug. Give me my logon credentials. If I've already saved those, I can just click OK. Notice that it is loading it, and we can see information down here in the console. That module's been loaded from my active load lives. And I'm now sitting at the procedure division. So here, if I wanted to create a unit test, simple right click, and we can generate a test case. So I'll select that from the list here. We'll give it a name. I can give it a new name. I'll just call this one unit test and click finish. And I'm going to create a unit test, not a functional test at this point. Click OK. And now that we've determined that that's what we want to do, we can go through and debug the program as usual. I'm still collecting, if I were collecting code coverage information or creating my runtime visualizer, those things will also be in the process, but we're now also collecting and stubbing out the information for a complete unit test. So then we would just click on resume. Okay, and we'll let that run. So then once that has been, I'm at a break point, but I would click resume again and again just through the whole process. So let's swap back over to the Host Explorer perspective and go to our Project Explorer. And here I've already got one open that I've created before. So this is where you come to look at the information that's saved from a unit test. So this one's, I named it New TTT, Topaz for Total Test Case 2. And all the information that's saved out from that. So if I expand open my unit test, then one of the things that I like to look at first is the scenarios. So I'm just going to double click on my scenarios. So here is my input data for this particular scenario, the stubs. So what this will do is stub out the data coming in and out, so I no longer have to have those physical files or DB2 tables set up to be able to execute this particular unit's test once again. So these are my stubs, any assertions, right? So does this have to equal 0 for the unit test to be successful? And the different comparisons on your assertions could be no assertions, equals, between, greater than, less than, all of our kind of standard Boolean operators there. So I'll leave that one at equals. So some other things to look at here. So there are the different structures associated with this particular unit test, and then the stubs themselves. So if I were to click on, again, just do a double click on this employee file stub, then I can see all the data for each of the records. In this case, I had 11 records coming through, and it saved out this information. So I'll be able to use this over and over and over to keep executing this unit test. And I can select each one of those individually and just see the data that was coming in. If I wanted to make changes here, then I can do that to be able to maybe force it down a different path, or to take into account any changes that I'm making within the code. So there's our stubs, our input stubs. And then the last thing is to be able to re-execute this is your JCL. So let me just double click open on that. So notice you do need a job card, and you can input your job card here, or you can have it in the preferences. So if you go to Window, Preferences, and Topaz for Total Test under Compuware, and then input your job card here, it will always default to that particular job card for all of your JCL. Notice there are other things that we do need to change within the JCL though. We need the step lib information, and then the load lib containing the test program. And then you can execute this again and again, keeping everything, again, kind of self-contained within this unit test, and not have to worry about setting up your test data environments to be able to execute this again. So I hope that helps, and thank you very much.